I'm Ben Zumsteg. I am the founder and I guess the CEO as well of Disco Fizz.
Perfect. Well, talk to me a little bit about what Disco Fizz is and kind of where you guys are located, how you guys get to market with consumers.
Yeah, so Disco Fizz is a sparkling, non-alcoholic functional drink that has energy from green tea caffeine, sea salt electrolytes, and flavors from juices and extracts, no artificial sweeteners. We say that we're designed for the dance floor, so I can get into how we arrived at that and where we're rolling out. But we're based in New York, and we launched 6 months ago, and we're rolling out primarily on premise first. You can guess based on the little positioning statement I gave you, but we'll be rolling out in DTC and retail locations later this year. But starting kind of building with the community in on premise.
And did I see on your store map a little bit in California as well?
We have, yeah, we got a couple just like organic opportunities in San Francisco and LA. LA is actually our first retail placement in Burden of Proof, the non-alc shop down there, which gives us a little bit of a chance to see how it moves and what moves at retail. And we're getting they've been great partners to us. So we're learning a little bit about how things are working in a retail setting versus on a bar shelf.
That's a whole different world. So I'm glad the way you framed that, where you said you're learning, because
Yes, everything is a learning experience right now.
Exactly. Yeah. So speaking of that, kind of lead me into your life, and how was entrepreneurship always a part of your life, or is this a new venture as far as breaking out on your own and creating something from scratch?
I am a first-time founder and never worked in CPG before, so this is all new. So it's all a learning experience, as I said. But my background is in brand strategy. I've been a brand strategist on the advertising agency side for 15 years. And throughout my career, I've run the gamut of different types of companies, brands, sectors, sizes. So anything from Walmart for a few years to LabCorp to Ralph Lauren to Four Seasons hotels. It's really all over the place. But over the past couple of years, I have focused in on luxury and premium brands, just because I find it intellectually interesting, and it's where brand really does matter a lot to command price premiums and all of those things. So in that role, I've worked on a lot of beauty with like L'Oreal, Luxe brands, again, Ralph Lauren, and also like jewelry, etc. So I really enjoy being a brand strategist. I find it intellectually very interesting, and it's kind of blends business and creativity, because you're dealing with the creative output as well. But my journey to Disco Fizz began when I stopped drinking 3 years ago.
Oh man, we're right around. I'm December 2022, man.
Oh, nice. I was January 23. So,
Right.
well, technically, yeah, like New Year's Day, 23.
Don't worry. I call it a journey. I don't count my days, so you're good.
Yeah. And that was after about a year of like pauses and experimenting with not drinking, and then just decided I took a year, and then after that I was like, I'm good. And as I'm gay, and as part of the LGBT community, I still like to be in our spaces, bars, clubs, all those things are very important to our community. And I noticed very quickly that all of this like non-alc stuff that was happening in the world outside of our community wasn't really making its way to our spaces. And I was kind of curious about that, and getting really sick of ordering like, club soda and cranberry or, or Diet Coke or whatever. And certainly like hate Red Bull, all of that stuff. And that was really what we had. That's really most bars, what they offer. And then in parallel, as a brand strategist, I found the emergence of the non-alc category very interesting, because it faces some of the same challenges that other like alternative categories face. I worked on EVs for a while when I worked on Cadillac. EVs are similar I think like plant milks are similar, like these things that are replacing the default in our lives. And I was noticing non-alc making some of the same choices that those categories made early on. And not just EVs, but sustainable products in general, which is like starting with the it's better for you argument, or it's better for the world argument. And as someone who had quit already, I was getting tons of like dry January, and then beyond that, just like tons of digital, social, whatever advertising that was saying, like telling me I will feel better if I drink this thing. You know, you'll have a better morning. You'll get the buzz without the booze. You'll blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I've already made the decision, dude. You don't need to tell me that. And it felt very moralizing. And I think these other categories have run into that, where like, you know, the Prius was this like very worthy car and was popular because it was, you know, a good car, but it wasn't until, you know, the high-end sports cars, Tesla, Porsche, all of these brands started to say, actually, electric cars can be really sexy and fast and premium, that it became something worth paying attention to, right? Going after the like driving enthusiasts because it has instant torque and better balance, you know, better like weight balance and all of that stuff, right? And then I think plant milks like Oatly also got that right too, where they just kind of like leaned into being this kind of like, we think this industry is kind of bullshit and just going after it, right? And having fun with it versus like, oh, this is so much better for you. You'll feel, you know, like all that stuff. And so I think that a lot of the early entrants who needed to do this because they needed to create the category, not blaming them, really relied on like, replace your alcohol with this. And I just think that as drink choice, like drinking preferences have changed. I mean, certainly the culture that has moved, at least in the US. I just don't, I don't know how much more you can do that, right? You have to sell them on what you're about. Because, you know, as someone who is experimenting with those drinks, some of them don't taste great.
Right.
Like,
I'm on the record on this show,
yeah,
jokingly blaming my delayed sobriety because non-alcoholic product didn't taste well until a couple of years ago when I got sober finally. Like, I say it jokingly and I mean it.
yeah,
Because I needed, and admittedly, because I needed the crutch. I needed the bridge. Like, I wasn't able to do it cold turkey and with nothing.
Yeah, and I just, but I was never really drawn to like the non-alc spirits. I'm not a beer drinker anyway, so I didn't really love the non-alc beers. And then, you know, as I talked to other friends who are sober and just saw the conversation about non-alc evolve, like there's also the like price premium issue, which is, yes, there are actually some products that justify a price premium because they're de-alcoholizing, so they maintain, you know, I get all of that. But I think especially in like functional non-alc cocktails, RTDs, there is this like, it's just expensive juice problem. And so then again, as a luxury strategist, I was like, that's really interesting, because how do you create a price premium perception with a product that, you know, doesn't have the same function that people are used to? So all of this stuff was brewing in my mind. I was just intellectually curious about it. I was experiencing it. I was experiencing a dearth of it in the places that I spend a lot of time in. And one day in April of 2024, it just went like, why don't you just do it? The name was there from the beginning. Like, I was like, why don't I just create one for the LGBT community and call it Disco Fizz? And I had that idea, having no idea how to do it, like no idea what it meant to create a beverage brand, no idea where to go to get it made, not even really an idea of what the product should be. I just had a brand name and a market, which is not a bad place to start in hindsight. So coming off of that, I did what I know to do as a brand strategist. I did research. I was like, is this a viable opportunity? Is there a need? So I worked with a former colleague of mine who specializes in quantitative research. And we commissioned a study and we bought a sample of LGBT identifying folks, nationally representative, and asked them a whole bunch of questions about their drinking habits, what they like to drink when they're not drinking, what they remember buying when they're not drinking, regardless of whether they identify as sober or not. And I because the research doesn't exist. There's lots of population studies or general or like, demographic, like men versus women or Gen Z versus boomers or whatever, stats about drinking and not drinking and what they want, but there is nothing about our community. And if there is, it's about addiction, not the other side of it, which is an issue. Of course, it's well studied for a reason, but there was nothing about the other side of it or nothing about offering people an alternative. So as far as I know, this is the only research about it that exists.
I've been in this industry 22 years and there's never been, and honestly, I'm going to say this because I say this a lot in meetings and people have heard me, slapping a rainbow on something is not the way to get a product to that market. And that's all we've ever done is we as an industry have thrown things, made it pink, made it teal, and slapped a occasionally for a 4 to 6 week or a 45-day cycle, we'll put a rainbow on it and donate to a cause.
And I appreciate you bringing that up, and we can talk about how, like where the brand became what it is.
You're finding a passion point for me, to be honest. Like, like I'm an ally and a full passion about this.
I appreciate that, and happy Pride. But we do it to ourselves too, unfortunately. And I can talk about why I stayed with Disco Fizz, because I really didn't, if I was going to do something, I didn't want to slap a rainbow logo on it and say it's just for us, right? So we can get into that. But we did this research, and what came out the other end were, frankly, a bunch of different opportunities, but the one that was most interesting to start with, and this is where I started working with a formulator, Leyline Labs. I was introduced to them very kindly by the folks at Dry Atlas, was this discrepancy between buying a lot of energy or caffeinated drinks, but craving refreshment. So we asked the question in two different ways, like, what do you remember buying? What do you prioritize? And those two things were different. And that indicates to me an unmet need, which is people want, when they're in social spaces like bars, clubs, in-home parties, whatever, that they want a little boost. And often caffeine or some form of energy is the inebriant if you're not drinking, or it enhances the inebriation of drinking. Not recommending that, just saying that that's what happens. People drink Red Bull vodkas for a reason. So caffeine is just a thing that people turn to. They understand, they know there's a guaranteed result, as opposed to all these other functionals that people don't quite know what really happens and all that stuff. But refreshment being the number one priority to us, indicated that people want more refreshing taste, flavor, etc., from something that gives them energy. And that started to become a little bit of like, that's interesting. And the analog that the team that I worked with brought me was, even though it's a very, very specific taste, was Club Mate in Germany. How that energizing beverage with a very distinct taste profile became basically the go-to drink of like ravers and hackers in like 90s and 2000s Berlin, right? And still is quite a hallmark of that community. And I found that really interesting. Like, I just found that like, I didn't set out to make an energy drink for sure. Even when I saw the results, I was like, am I making an energy drink? Oh. And that's where you have to kind of get out of the way of the data and be like, okay, I guess. But what became interesting as we started to work on it was not just that, but also there was in the data concern about caffeine consumption. And so then it pointed to, well, let's not make a Celsius or a Monster level. Let's actually make it more moderate, because people don't need the same amount of caffeine that they're using for a pre-workout when they're just going out for the night, or need a little boost, a couple hours before they go to bed, right? And I see this when I sample with people. They're like, oh my God, energy. I'm like, don't worry, it's not that much. It's just a little. So the other thing that we did when we formulated was we have created a tiered caffeine system, and it's all quite moderate. So right now we have 30 milligrams and 90 milligrams as our two levels. We'll have one that slots in the middle, 60. So 30 is pegged to diet sodas, diet colas, like a Diet Coke. Coke Zero is around 30. And 90 is pegged to the tiny Red Bull. So 90 is where we'll max out. And that is still half of a Celsius, less than half of a Celsius.
Mm-hmm.
So we're also kind of capturing this, we saw Liquid Death come out with 100. Like, we're kind of on that road of like, people still like caffeine, just not that much caffeine,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're seeing that perform well. I think people like that. So more moderate caffeine choice was our other kind of thing that we brought to it. And then all the flavors was just like, we wanted to develop, this team that I worked with are non-alc drinkers and developers. They worked on Gia in their former lives. They've developed some great non-alc spirits and other drinks. And so they developed it like a non-alc, premium non-alc. So it tastes like that. And I also gave them a limit of 20 calories because I was like, not this community. They're used to sugar-free Red Bulls and vodka sodas. We are not going highly caloric. And so 20 calories in an 8.4 ounce is pretty low. And we kept it to 4 grams of sugar. We didn't do an artificial sweetener. So the taste profile is also significantly different from a typical energy drink, which is overly sweet and artificial. And also from a lot of premium non-alc cocktails, which are very sugary and very sweet for a reason. Some of them have upwards of 30 grams in an 8.4 ounce, which is pure sugar. So, which, they taste great. It's just they're not making their way into those spaces for a reason.
Well, it's also one of the things too, when you get into the functional and then you get into like what we work with the hemp beverages, the transparency that exists in non-alc. Like, whereas the transparency does not exist. Like I tell this story every once in a while to my friends, like I put on so much weight when I worked in the craft beer industry because none of us knew the caloric intake. So
Sure.
We would go out and we'd be drinking 6, 8, 10 beers in a night.
Yeah.
And you don't realize like you're drinking your entire day and more with that before you even ate a greasy thing at the bar.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even our knowledge of what calories are in alcohol to begin with, not just like how it's formulated or what type of drink it is. So, but also in hindsight, it was good that we did that because people are also mixing them now. So it's a low calorie mixer. Great. So yeah, this just started to develop and it kind of emerged as we played with the flavors. Then we just moved into commercializing it. Like, it was just like, let's just see if this works. Then, to your comment about the slapping a rainbow logo thing on it, I was glad that the initial kind of lightning bolt idea was Disco Fizz, because instantly that took it away from, and again, not criticizing these brands, but it took it away from gay water, gay beer, the kind of, this is only for us, which is great. We need that stuff because, like you said, lots of places, lots of brands just were kind of like doing it for pride and going away. But I could see that would limit your TAM.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that question too still, but I wanted something that intentionally felt like inherently queer, but not exclusively. And what better way to demonstrate that than through disco, right? Which is like, started underground, started queer, became what it is, right? Everyone loves it. So the way that we approached developing the brand was very much with that in mind. There's nothing, it's colorful, but there's nothing, like, oh, here's a rainbow flag, or here's, cliches of what people think the queer community is. But it feels fun. It feels like nightlife. It
I love the
feels
8.5 ounces too. Like
yeah, yeah, and we developed 8.4 from the beginning.
8.4. Sorry.
Yeah, we developed 8.4 from the beginning. People really like this holding this size. It's easy to hold.
I'm gonna feel like Andre the Giant whenever he was a drinker. I'm 6'3", 250, so it's gonna feel fun. Like
we'll make a 16 for you.
the big boy fizz.
But yeah, and then this was like the first real test of the brand, actually, because we had to make it, as you know, the lead times are crazy, so we had to finalize the brand just as we were finalizing the identity. And it turned out really well. And we found a great can printer, so we have this like cool matte finish on it, and it
nice. I can see that. That's a really good addition there. That's a premium call right there.
Yeah, it feels nice to hold, and then the aluminum coming through, so it's
and you can go all the way to the rim too. Nice.
All the way as much as we can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And
texture on it as well.
Yeah, I mean the matte gives it a bit of a texture, and then the matte combined with like the bare aluminum gives it a bit of a tack.
Oh, you went bare aluminum. Nice. I love when that's done. Yes.
Yeah. So everything other than the UPC is
all negative space. Perfect.
Negative space punched out.
I love it.
So this, that was a great proof of concept of the brand, and like it's one of the things that when I sample or show it to people, they're like, oh, that can looks great. And it feels like it belongs in the place where we intended it to belong. And even at our friends at Burden of Proof in LA, like it's on a shelf and it's like colorful and black. Like it's just like it's like black and shiny with a little bit of color, and it works nicely.
People it's underutilized as like you did it perfectly by blending the black and the color. And I also want to say like that negative space is an underutilized opportunity. Not only does it serve a more premium glare, but when people don't think through when you're at retail and you're at the point of purchase with proper lighting, it shines and shimmers better, and it's cost effective. It's not an extra color in your print.
No.
One of the things I think too, I'm excited about what you did was a lot of people went the white route, or they went uber color, and not many people went the black route. So I was really excited when I saw your booking and I pulled up your products and stuff like that. I was like, this is cool. Like this is a really cool way to go about it. I love when people, obviously my business is called Free Mind. I started in 2008. I'm a non-conformist person, and I'm a very inclusive person. I love when people zig when everybody else is zagging.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you noticed that. I've noticed a few other like black. I mean, like Q mixers plays in black a little bit. I mean, Liquid Death has it to a degree. And I've noticed a couple other brands that moved.
They did it after they won the white war.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, as we develop the brand, a lot of the space, probably because they're dealing in like functionals, like ashwagandha and lion's mane, they go to this dreamy, colorful gradient world, which again is like great for that need if you want to be like chilling out on your couch, disassociating with Netflix or something. But doesn't really fit in when you're like, under a disco ball.
And that's the other thing is, it's like when I say my criticisms of other things, I want the audience to also understand, whether you're listening or watching, I'm not disparaging, and nor are you disparaging those brands. What it is it's go back to what I just said about Free Mind. Everything needs to be represented. And just like go back to the rainbow. Every rainbow is a different color. Everything needs to be represented, because if everybody comes out with Grateful Dead and tie-dye and hippie culture, then that's what the category becomes.
Yes.
It's necessary for every color to be represented and every design to be represented to create a category.
Yep. 100%. I mean, as a brand strategist, when you said zig when others zag, like I like in my job, I work for an advertising holding company, but I work with BBH, which is the agency whose founders coined that term. Brand distinctiveness.
And I did not know that when I dropped that punch.
Yeah. Maybe they made it their thing, but they have this whole thing about the black sheep and whatever. So
purple cow.
Yeah. So, but brand distinctiveness is a thing. every brand in super crowded categories has to aim for it, and they have to find a way to be different, not just in their product, but in the way that they show up in the world. I mean, as a brand strategist, that's what I always advise clients to do. And also to like, not just be different for the sake of it, but be different in a way that signals to people what you are about.
Yeah.
And often that means borrowing the language, the codes, the whatever of a different world, a different category, and bringing it to yours. And that's kind of what I felt like we could do with Disco Fizz, is like, this is this non-alc functional world that's often about stress relief and whatever. And then we're between that and this energy world that's very aggro, either aggro, bro, gym stuff, or like, you know, the emerging world of like Gorgie, Benny, the like Pilates princess version of it. And again, I say this, like you said, I'm not disparaging that, but like this.
No, we're brand guys. That's how things are labeled.
You have to have a bit of an oppositional view when you're developing your brand and say, like, I am not going to be that. And so, like, I didn't want to be that in energy, and I didn't want to be the dreamy, like, chill out, you know, or like high craft world of premium mocktails. So, nightlife and, you know, the energy and the color of nightlife felt like the right thing to bring forward, and not the cliches of disco either, not like 70s chintz and bell bottoms and whatever, but more like the spirit of the disco, whatever that is.
I think that's the best thing about it, is you're talking about the spirit of disco, which is inclusivity. Like the spirit of disco is you go, and that's one of the things that brought me when I worked in Philadelphia when I was 20 years old. I can recall the first time that I got a sales route, and I had on South Street in Philadelphia, I had a gay club as my account, and then I had Woody's in Philadelphia, which is one of the, at one point, was the highest consumption of hard liquor in the entire city of Philadelphia. It was one bar. And when I had those two places at an early age, I got exposed to that culture. And what I learned quickly was, you walk 3 doors down to Jim's Tavern, and you walk in and every eye turns around and looks at you. Everybody wants to know why you're here and all this other stuff. And then you go to the other ones, and it's the most fun party in the world. And you walk in, and people immediately, obviously, people come up and they're like, "Oh, I got a new bear." And then they talk to me and they realize that I'm an ally. And then it becomes this whole funny thing where they're like, "Well, why are you here?" And I'm like, "Why wouldn't I be here? You guys are having a blast." And that was the initial part for me, where breaking down those barriers and realizing, like, just because it's a gay club doesn't mean it's only for gay people.
No.
And now I'm not saying that you guys want to have 50,000 people and want to be over indexed and taken over. No, that's not what I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
But what I am suggesting is that it's amazing what you're doing with the product and doing the reverse, where you're going to create a product for the community, but you're doing exactly the representation of what you said, the culture. The culture is the door's not locked just because you're not gay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, and again, to the TAM argument. I mean, so, and this is something that I have gotten a question. I mean, philosophically, I believe that very strongly. Like, I think if you create something in spaces, for spaces like the spaces that we're going into primarily, that it will model the right occasion. Like, this is just a drink for any time I want to have fun. Okay.
Exactly.
But, you know, from a TAM perspective, and I'm even thinking about this because I'm pitching at BevNet next week.
Oh, congrats, man. Nice.
But I've gotten this question from, like, you know, investors that I've talked to and stuff like that, is, you know, well, what's the TAM of the queer community is pretty limited. And I go, well, I don't think of it as the TAM. But, you know, starting with a community that is 30 million people with $1.4 trillion in spending power is not a bad place to start as like a serviceable, addressable market. Like, that's, even if that's our SAM, that's not a bad place to start.
And then from a strictly economic standpoint, there's more disposable income in that category than there is in the other one.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then, again, we formulated the product the way it is because it straddles NA, which is growing, and energy, which continues to grow. And it can shapeshift depending on where it sits and where you encounter it. So I believe very strongly, both from a philosophical perspective about being the brand owner and what it represents, that it can and will. Though we're being very narrow about it right now, like exclusively sponsoring LGBT events and all of that stuff to get it in with the community and get them behind it, get our advocates. But, we're saying yes to things that aren't queer. Like we're doing an event this weekend with Bright Night Social, who, built a lot of, sober partying in New York. And that's just at McCarran Park House. It's like anyone is welcome. So it's like, great, super. But
you have to build your ripple somewhere. And it's the same thing as any other brand in the macro market. You have to start with your home base.
Yeah.
And if your community isn't gonna grab it, then that's your biggest research indicator that the greater community is not gonna grab it, or it's the reverse.
Yeah. You have to be for someone, otherwise you're for no one.
And I want to also say that I in today's world, especially in 2026, having a product with a principle is what I believe firmly is going to be the success. And having a brand that has a face behind it and you doing things like this, that's the difference. I really mean it. And I'll take this, I'll leave this in or put it off, whatever you want. But in between now and BevNet, if you need anything to prep for those, I've been through many of those, not presenting, but on the audience side, as well as the judging side on other versions of it. Between now and then, if you want to run a pitch through or anything like that, I would gladly clear my calendar and help you rehearse or anything like that as well.
I'll probably take you up on that because I
mean it because it's I've seen them. I've watched a lot of them. I used to know those guys. I started out in the industry with the media stuff at the same time. So those BevNet guys and I started FreeMind the same exact year, and we ran the conference rooms floors together, traded the interviews with each other, and just swapped mics. So
it's exciting. I think we have a good story. I think what I've noticed, and again, this is a bit of a tangent, but what I've noticed from a lot of the winners is that they have a very clear idea of who they're for.
Yes.
That matters more than the scale they've achieved or anything like that. And we are quite small. So, I feel confident that we have like actual insight about the target.
You're the first person to come on here that's talked about the research they did prior rather than I really made something cool and my friends, I really enjoyed it. So we scaled it to something.
Yeah, no.
Not anybody that has it.
No.
The first one that led with research.
Well, it was just kind of, I frankly, because I'm bootstrapped, I was like, I don't want to waste my money if no one.
Well, I'm going to tell you something funny that I'm currently doing statewide in Pennsylvania, surveying of every retailer about non-alc, alc, and functional, or not within non-alc and hemp. And I'm not doing anything, and this is nothing against chains and grocery stores and convenience stores, but I'm only doing independent operators because from a data standpoint, that is the most underserved data point. And what people don't realize is the data you and I use to make our decisions about line extensions and package sizes, we're using data from corporate point of sale systems. We're not using data from independent delis, corner bodegas, liquor stores. And that is the difference in when you were trying to figure out when you're a small brand and you're 6 months in, you're 5 years in, and you're not scaled yet, people aren't realizing that the grocery store and the convenience store only carries about a small percentage of the actual SKUs. And out of those percentage of SKUs, they're grabbing the largest SKUs that'll turn the most velocity. They don't take a lot of chances. Yeah. And so you don't have real data to work off of from that standpoint. So we actually just started this week. Our remote team is doing 1,200 calls a week for the next couple of weeks. And the goal is to have 2,000 retailer surveys completed by the end of the summer to where we'll have entire state of Pennsylvania with a snapshot of who's carrying this stuff, what brands they're carrying, what price points they're at, and then what their velocities are, and as well as if they're open to expansion of other categories and all that stuff. Because I think just for, like you said, I've been doing this for 18 years, but I am not a millionaire. I've been broke and almost bankrupt multiple times. And I'm very much on the record of I've been homeless before. I've lived in motels and everything just to get this going. Yeah. And that's where, and to keep this alive. And so my place is from a place of resilience. So I want you to know that's why I feel the way about principle. I'm speaking from the heart. I'm speaking from my experience is that I've been in this for 18 years as a solopreneur. And I also understand scale. And I'm one man that brings contractors in that I trust when I need to scale a project, but I don't have any employees. I don't even have an office. Like right now, I'm in a bedroom, and I just and that's my office, and that's the thing about this show the authenticity, and I joke around, but it's serious. It's the realest thing on the internet, because we can all put these percentages or perspectives up, and we can go get stock photos with a photographer, and we can look like we're wearing a suit and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, let's be what we are. We work in our bedroom, we work over here, and the world needs to see that there's people that are just regular people trying to do big things.
Yeah, it's hard work.
And that's it.
I didn't anticipate how much work it would be, but it's hard work, but it's good.
And what you just said is why I continue every week to interview 4, 6, 10 different founders, because I want more founders that are in this to realize they're not alone. And number two, I want new founders coming in to have the realistic expectation. It's not go to the bank and get $200,000 and then you're going to be a millionaire in a year. And too many times they come in and then 12 months later, they're burned out because number one, they didn't manage their money correctly, or they tried to do what they see the corporate companies doing, and then they spent all their money trying to compete rather than doing what you're doing, which is, this is my niche, and my niche will become a category eventually, but I'm going to sustain myself within the niche that I'm in.
Yeah.
And that's the way to do this. And it's slow. It takes time and it takes patience.
It does. It is easy to, it's very easy to compare. I mean, not even against like the big corporate players, but just like other, I guess not even unicorns, but just the big case studies in non-alc, and be like, oh fuck, like.
And that's exactly it. Yeah, from a research and case study, that's what's put into our heads because that's what's available and that's who participates. So
yeah,
we're all zigging and zagging and we're all trying here. And I appreciate what you're doing. But real quick, before we keep going on this one, I know we have about 10, 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your story as an individual.
Okay.
Let's talk, like, tell me, like, let's go to 19-year-old you.
Oh,
like,
boy.
did you ever, and don't worry, you can go back to past episodes and I share whatever, I share the warts and whatever. So you don't have to share whatever you want to share. I'm not trying to get any clickbait out of this, but I want to know, 19-year-old you, where are you geographically? What's going on in your life? And did this ever think that this ever would be something where you'd be sitting at now?
It's a great way of asking it. I have told variations of this story before as a founder. 19, I had just moved to Chicago. I grew up in Chicago. You can see you could probably see the
Now I understand the grit.
yeah. I grew up in Chicago, moved to Utah for the last 2 years of high school, and then came running and screaming back to Chicago for college. I grew up Mormon.
Okay.
So moving back to Chicago at 19 to go to college at DePaul University. It was a really interesting way to go to college because in DePaul is in Lincoln Park, which is a hop, skip, and a jump from Boys Town and the gay bars. And
my buddy Will Reiners went to DePaul. Yeah, I heard some stories about DePaul. Yeah.
Promptly, yeah. And under the radar drinking school, because also like for the straight kids, like Lincoln Park is like the place. Yeah. So I promptly got a fake ID and started going out to the Boys Town bars at 18, 19. And on the drinking side of things, very quickly learned that, part of the rite of passage in our community is to be in these bars, be in these spaces and drink. And this was before the grinders of the world and all the digital technology that allowed us to connect more instantaneously. So bars were really the place that you went to meet people. And I was both leaving behind Mormonism, which is famously anti-alcohol. So I was kind of rebelling, and also going to a community where drinking is really central to the social experience. And Chicago is a drinking town. So I just got thrust into a world and started drinking a lot and really felt that to drink, I had to belong, or to belong, I had to drink. And yeah, I definitely had some trial and error with that. But I have said before that that's where my disordered relationship with drinking began, was like this very, very like I'm not this thing that I was raised with. I can drink, I'm free to, and also I need to belong. So that I would say that was formative in my attitude towards drinking now, and also why I don't believe that like Disco Fizz is not an anti-alcohol sober brand, right? Like drinking is central to our community for a reason. It helps us bond, it helps us commiserate, all of those things. So I'm not going to shame people for that. So there was that brewing. But also, if you ask professionally, could I have ever imagined that I would have done this? I don't necessarily know if I had entrepreneurialism in my sights, but that was when my like interest in brand became a thing, and it was very very like Tom Ford at Gucci. Like this was, they're trying to resuscitate it now, but like that was the era. This is early 2000s, and I remember being this like bored kid at college.
So we're the same. We're the same age, man.
Yeah.
What year did you graduate high school?
To 2002.
All right, 2003 for me. So yeah, good. Yeah.
So being a kid, like looking at style.com when it was a thing, and seeing like the Gucci shows and watching like the really grainy videos that were available then, and just being like so amazed by like the ability for a brand to create a mood and a world and evoke emotion and provoke emotion. And I was just like, I want to do that. I don't know if it was about fashion or it was about luxury, but that would definitely planted the seed. It was just about like, and like we grew up with like Abercrombie quarterlies and stuff, like just that stuff, and like Gap, the icon, just the ability for like a brand to like evoke something and make you want to be a part of it and own a piece of it. I really got enamored with that. And so for a while I thought it was going to be like copywriting, but then I realized, so brand strategy really became the thing, probably 5, 6, 7 years later. But that was at that moment, that was when I was starting to become really obsessed with like brands. There's no other way I can say it, but just like the notion of being a person who could create something that people want to be a part of was and then all the other academic stuff about it came later, and but that's when that was all starting to mix together.
I think that it's interesting today, like in the brand world, because it's like an overflow of different brands and overflow of strategy and overflow of advertising. Whereas I think kids today, and I sound very old when I say that, so I'm going to acknowledge it, but like I have kids, you know what I mean? Like, and their perception of brands is not the way it was for us. There's so many brands that they don't actually lock in with brands as much as they lock in with feelings.
Yeah.
And it's like it's exactly the same thing we were trying to strive for. But I'll give you an example. Like for me, my body structure, you brought up two brands that I became an anti-brand. So I loved the idea of brands, and I always did marketing and everything like that. I went to college for that. But Abercrombie and Fitch and American Eagle and all those, I always was, and I'm still to this day, I'm an in-between size guy.
Okay.
And also I was always a bigger guy. And I wasn't like a big guy as far as like, I was in shape at that time. And I'm a retired in shape guy at this time. I played a lot of sports, but my size was always different. And it always, as that age at 19, 18 years old, it made me so angry because we all connected as a society where if somebody wore the Abercrombie, that meant a different caliber of person into society. And I always was like sitting on the outside because I'm like, well, none of those pants fit. None of those shirts fit. They don't make a double XL. They only make an XL, and it's like, and the things got slimmer and slenderer and everything like that. And that represented where we were as a society because of Style magazine and all that. We were in a very much so then. I went down eating disorder routes to try to get my body to the place that would fit into those clothes. And as soon as I got a little bit older and realized that I was trying to reconstruct my body to fit a brand, that's when I was like, I only want to work with people of principle and passion. And I was like, and it became, my entire shift came to where I still had all the passion for branding and marketing, but it was with the purpose of inclusivity. And
Yeah.
it was with the purpose of working with things that were universally able to expand out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the downside of brand is that um it can exclude
Hmm.
in the pursuit of being like pure and being for someone. It can make people feel not part of it.
Hmm.
Uh and like we were saying earlier, you have to be clear about who you're for.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with repelling some people who don't want to be about what you're for. But yeah, I mean, fashion and luxury, especially, I think
Yeah.
can at its worst can really, and beauty as well. I have had a lot. I've worked on a lot of beauty, and there have been times where I really struggled with it because I'm like, oh, we're just like.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, are we really saying that to women? Okay, like so. Uh, yeah, at its worst, a brand, especially when it's about image,
Yeah.
self-image, can be really it can be really powerful, but it can also be really destructive. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure Abercrombie Quarterly gave all sorts of kids our age body dysmorphia. um, and that's even something that as I've started doing, social media for Disco Fizz is like the reality in the queer community is there's also quite a bit of like body image
Hmm.
course and like with the gay male part of the world like the certain ideal sells and so I've even like when I've thought about casting photo shoots or who I've engaged in the brand, I'm like I don't want to just like rely on hot people.
Right. And you don't
It's
want to be a checkbox of like every color's here, every ethnicity here. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, I mean,
yeah, the manufactured diversity.
in our yeah tokenized, right, and
Yeah.
especially in our community, transgender representation too,
Hmm.
which I'm glad that we have in an authentic way. But yeah, these things become the choices you make as a brand as to who represents it and who it should be for are really tough, and the feedback loop is much quicker than it used to be.
Yeah. Like to a detriment and a positive at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah, I mean, you can take something down quickly, but it can also metastasize in a way, and
Yeah.
so it does. But yeah, you have to be careful about when you're saying you're for someone that you're not saying the other side of it is bad necessarily or not worthy. It's just like this is who we want to be about. If you want to be a part of it, great. If you don't, you don't.
What I'm
Um,
gonna do is I'm gonna rush this edit because
okay.
you have your shoot you have your Bev thing coming up. So I want to release this. I'm going to release this before so that you have something when you're on the floor.
Oh, I
That
appreciate
because I come from also the business development side of everything, being a solopreneur, and it's always nice on the floor of a BevNet or any of those trade shows to have something you can quickly send a link out to people.
I
Be like,
really,
oh, you want to know more about me? Here you go. You
I
know what I
really
mean?
appreciate
So I know the dates of when that's happening, and
it.
I'll kind of do that. What I also want to tell you after all that and everything like that, by the end of the summer, so we're going to start doing some roundtable type of stuff where we might bring another brand in and we talk about different things like that.
Cool.
So I want to bring you back. I really appreciate your perspective. I
Yeah.
really appreciate. I say this every time. So I appreciate the cojones to like come on without prep because that's something that a lot of people don't share it. I try to reiterate it, and I want people to understand. There's a lot of people that don't come on this show because they want to meet prior, they want to have questions in advance, and that's not what I do, and that's not how I've ever done anything. Because I believe that in the spontaneity of authentic conversations is where you get the truth,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not from a clickbait type personality or anything like that. It's more or less like I want people to be comfortable in a space to share their story and share
Yeah.
their intentions for the world. So um, as we kind of wind down on this one here in the next couple minutes, kind of closing out, reiterate to everybody if that's listening, kind of where to find you on social media, where to find you on LinkedIn, And then I'm going to send you an email later today to schedule a time to do any open-ended, any rehearsals you might want for your BevNet. I'd love to be able to support you in that because I know that's more nerve-wracking than getting ready for a podcast. So.
Yeah, I haven't, the nerves haven't fully hit yet, but I'm sure they will.
I tell you what, if you act like you just did just now and treat it like you just did, you're going to nail it. And right. I mean that, like, seriously.
So yeah, Disco Fizz is available primarily on premise right now in bars and clubs in the New York City area. We are also going to be available online very soon. I think I can share this knowing that it'll be live by the time you release this. We're part of Paris Hilton's Pride shopping guide, so you'll be able to get a 4-pack on her shopping guide. The proceeds go to her impact fund, so it's for a good cause. But we'll be launching our own DTC later this month in June. Retail stores later this year. You can find us on Instagram at drinkdiscofizz. Search Disco Fizz on LinkedIn, discofizz.com. And you can just email me, ben@discofizz.com, if you're interested in talking to me.
Awesome, Ben. And that partnering with Paris Hilton on that is perfect, man.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere.
I mean, it also matches everything we talked about, everything we came from, and every reason as to why we give a shit about brands. I mean, she played a large role in that, whether or not we, you are you, I am me, and she affected both of us in different ways. I mean, it's not just for the queer community. Like, Paris Hilton was a powerhouse that kids today don't understand. Like,
yeah, and like, a good example of, when you're for the queer community, allies notice that, and allies want to elevate that. So I'm very, very grateful for them featuring us among other.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that. That is awesome.
Yeah.
So let's I'll kind of wind down here and want to do the closing. Is again, I want to thank you for doing this. I want to thank you for having the courage to come on. This is something that does separate people. It separates those that have the resilience and the grit. And I'm going to give Chicago a little credibility to giving you that grit, as well as your own personality that I can tell where you very much have embraced where it is and where you're going down in your path. And I respect that to a place that I cannot even put into words. And I know that you've skimmed over a lot of adversities that you've seen in your life at 19 years old all the way to today. And I could see it in your face, and I could see it because I read people, and I'm not, it's not some woo-woo thing. It's just, I can see that. And I want to thank you for being who you are and not cowering into the shadows and standing up and saying, this is who the fuck I am, and this is what I'm doing. And it's not a take it or leave it. It's a come on in. If you like it, great. If you don't, it's not for you, and that's fine. Yeah. And I respect that so much. So yeah. I want to give everybody a reminder as well. There's no scripts, there's no agenda, there's no prep. This is an organic conversation, the realest thing on the internet. It is also a testament to everybody today to realize that the world is a beautifully destructive place. It is a crazy world, and everybody is in this alone. And just because your life might be going well right now, I'm going to reiterate this challenge. 5 minutes a week. 5 minutes a week to a stranger. Dedicate kindness to a stranger. Walking down the street, put your phone in your pocket, look at the strangers in the eye, smile at people, wave when you're crossing over in traffic. When you're at the gas station, filling up your coffee, look to the person next to you, ask them how their day's doing, and give a shit about what they say, not about how your day's doing. Because what we don't realize is, and what we do realize is, we might be alone and other people are alone, and a bit of kindness can make their day, their week, their month. And from my own experience, as well as others, it may make a difference in whether or not they want to even exist on this earth. And that is something we undervalue in the true kindness. We talk about ROIs all the time on this show. 20 minutes a month, 5 minutes a week. If that means that somebody can carry on and find a new path in their life in the next 60 days or carries them on to positivity for longer than 20 minutes, that's a great ROI.
Great advice.
Thank you so much, Ben. And again, thank you so much, man. I'm looking forward to getting to know you better, and I'll send you that email to schedule the BevNet run through, man.
Thank you, and I appreciate all the openness and the questions. It was very, very thoughtful discussion. I really appreciated it.
I'm sure we're going to be having many more, because this is one that I'm going to be honest, I don't want to end this episode. I'd love to just continue to talk to you. I have another one on the back end of this, and it's a lawyer, and I know she's going to be on time. So.
Yeah, for sure.
You take care, Ben. Have a great day, buddy.
You as well.